How did Israel appear on the map in 1948?
And why do millions of people believe its creation was both a miracle and a catastrophe? For many Jews, the creation of Israel represented the return of an ancient homeland after centuries of exile and persecution. But for many Palestinians, it represented the beginning of displacement and the loss of their homeland, the Nakba. To understand why this conflict still dominates global headlines today, we must go back more than a century to the collapse of empires and the rise of competing national movements.
1. The land before the storm, long before the modern lines were drawn. This land was a crossroads of civilizations.
Following the Roman period, much of the Jewish population entered a long diaspora, scattered across the world, but maintaining a spiritual connection to Zion. For centuries, the region was governed by the Ottoman Empire, a diverse mosaic of peoples where local Arab populations cultivated the land and built lives under the Sultan's rule.
2. The rise of Zionism. By the late 19th century, a new movement was stirring.
Zionism emerged in Europe as a response to rising anti-Semitism, advocating for the creation of a Jewish national home in their ancestral land.
As Jewish immigrants began to arrive, they brought dreams of sovereignty, but those dreams would soon clash with the burgeoning national identity of the Arab population who had called the land home for generations.
3.
Promises made during World War I changed everything. As the Ottoman Empire collapsed, global powers began carving up the map.
In 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, formally supporting the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine. But this promise would ignite a conflict Britain could never control.
To the Arabs, this was a betrayal of promises for their own independence. 4. Two peoples, one land under the British mandate. Tensions reached a breaking point. The 1920s through the 1940s were marked by violent clashes, political instability, and growing nationalist fervor on both sides.
What happened next would change the Middle East forever.
5. The partition divided the world. The horrors of the Holocaust during World War II galvanized international support for a Jewish state.
In 1947, the newly formed United Nations proposed a partition plan to divide the land into two states.
Jewish leaders accepted, seeing a path to survival. Arab leaders rejected it, viewing it as an unjust seizure of their territory. 6.
The birth of Israel and the First Arab-Israeli War in May 1948. The State of Israel was declared.
Immediately, neighboring Arab countries launched a war. The conflict was brutal. For Israelis, it was the war of independence. For Palestinians, it was the Nakba, the catastrophe, as hundreds of thousands were displaced from their homes. And the next decision would push the region toward war again and again. 7. The long conflict. Wars, intifadas, and regional rivalries. Decades of war followed.
The major Arab-Israeli Wars of 1967 and 1973 reshaped the borders.
Palestinian nationalist movements rose, seeking liberation and statehood. Over time, the nature of the struggle shifted, seeing the rise of groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, fueled by Iran's growing influence as part of a larger regional power struggle. 8.
The October 7th attack and the Gaza War. The history we've traced led directly to the explosion of modern violence. The October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel killed about 1,200 people, triggering a devastating military campaign in Gaza.
The scale of destruction and the resulting humanitarian crisis have shocked the world, reigniting the ancient debate over land, security, and human rights.
9. The expanding Middle East conflict today. The conflict is no longer just local. It has escalated into a regional crisis involving Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and other armed groups across the Middle East.
Global powers watch as the debate intensifies over borders, settlements, and the very meaning of sovereignty. 10.
A future still uncertain after generations of war, failed peace agreements, and growing regional tensions. Is a lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians still possible, or has history already set the stage for a conflict that could shape the Middle East for decades to come?